I trust you saw the proceedings yesterday?
I got a recap. Unfortunately, couldn't get out of a work meeting.
Okay.
So thank you.
So I thought it was a very good presentation, both by probation and PD's department during yesterday's hearing. I did, at the conclusion of the presentation by each, ask the very express question about whether or not each believed they work in tandem, they work collaboratively, and that they're not in competition with one another. And the response that they both gave was that, yes, they do, in fact, work collaboratively. And in fact, if it wasn't for the probation department's program, there would not be an opportunity for many incarcerated inmates to actually be released so that they could take advantage of the PD's actual programs and those of community-based organizations. So it does trouble me a little bit that there continues to be kind of this theme that seems to be somewhat pervasive, that somehow the probation department and the public defender's office have two very different widgets here, if you will. And yes, they have very different responsibilities, but I actually think if the the probation department program was to go away, to be defunded, otherwise not be in existence, it would have the adverse effect of affecting the efficacy of the public defender's efforts. So has P-Hab given any thought to that dynamic?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and it may be the case that the two work in a complementary fashion. I think even if that's the case, what we have seen and what we've observed and make recommendations around is the untapped potential, or the sort of suboptimal potential of the public defenders program. So currently they're grant funded. They have the capacity to do so much more. They need additional staff. They need additional resources. And the probation department's program, my understanding is, by contrast, gets significant general fund funding. So ahead of the budget cycle, what we're really advocating for is let's get the public defenders program the capacity that they need to continue connecting folks to services. I would imagine this was presented yesterday, but I'm not certain, so I'm just going to recap. In the past 15 months, the public defenders program connected 655 individuals to mental health services, 322 to substance use, 391 to housing, and I think the impression I get is they could do much more with more resources. So there's an untapped potential, and there's also a values alignment, again, from a public health perspective.
No, I appreciate that. I think those are great statistics to cite, but I think the important part of that is not mentioned is those numbers would not be those numbers if not for the fact that probation is doing what they're doing on their side of the equation, which is to have the ability to have inmates released under supervision. So, in other words, I don't think we have the ability to maximize getting folks out of jail in terms of our goals for jail population reduction unless they're both working together. And I understand completely the position of making sure that the public defender's part of it has stable and reliable funding. That part resonates with me. But for instance, the earlier comment or assumption that the way the probation, and I'm paraphrasing, the probation department resolves, in some instances, working with early release inmates is simply re-jail them. I don't know if that's entirely accurate. There was a great part of the presentation by probation where they, elaborated on all the various ways that they kind of gauge the risk factors associated with different inmates. And not every inmate may necessarily end up back in jail for not following the rules. So I just think we need to be careful and not paint a broad brush, the fact that probation is much more than simply surveil and jail.
Sure. just to correct the information